You're listening to the Dibbly-Dobbly podcast. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Now, Gabe, you and me, we support this team, and let's talk about Australia. Let's talk about Australian cricket. It's a big summer this summer, Gabe. Australia-Zimbabwe at the end of the month. That's on the 28th of August, ODI series. Australia-New Zealand ODI series. And then all of a sudden, Australia go to India for 3 T20 internationals. That doesn't make sense because T20 World Cup's in Australia, not in India. But anyway, we're going there. And then Australia in the West Indies for 2 T20s. Australia versus England for 3 T20s. Then the T20 World Cup, and then Australia versus England ODI series, and then you got Australia, West Indies, 2 test matches, and Australia, South Africa, 3 test matches to end the summer. So, Gabe, obviously, how do you think Australia will go this summer in terms of all those matches? And what do you think will be a pass mark for Australia this summer in terms of the international summer? What do you think will be a pass mark for the team?
You know, I think that Australia needs to win. Let's not say should. They need to win all those matches with the exception of the India match. And again, if it was on neutral ground or if it was in Australia, then that's a different story. But playing a subcontinent, man, those spinning tracks, it's just a beast. You know what I mean? So you don't expect Australia to go into India and beat them. But they should be able to beat New Zealand, right? And Zimbabwe, they better beat Zimbabwe. And I think that Australia, again, they find themselves in a very interesting position because having won the last T20 World Cup, they could theoretically go back to back. They could. You know, I know the West Indies went back to back and won it back to back. They have the opportunity to do so because, you know, outside of India, what other T20 team really scares you? You know what I mean? I mean, England, we saw their test team, they got hammered. They got absolutely hammered. And, you know, I think that, of course, you've got other teams, Pakistan, for instance, who had a good showing, had some great bowling that could make some noise, but they have a very, very good opportunity to go in and win back-to-back World Cups. The I think that they've mentioned that the pitches here are kind of flat. If you watch a lot of scores here, they're pretty high. So I think that bodes well for Australians bowlers who are used to pitching, you know, bowling on flat pitches. I think it's set up for them to succeed. Now, as far as ODI is concerned, that's a different story. A little bit of more work has to go in there. And dude, I mean, after what I just saw with England, I mean, for people to talk about, I know people saying, "Oh, basketball, the Ashes, Australia's gonna." Yeah, okay. You know, there's no concern, not even a little bit of concern. I think that England is not nearly ready for the next Ashes. What are we looking at? 2023, right? Because it was last year.
Yeah, next year in England.
Yeah, next year in England. So England or not, it doesn't matter, man. I'm telling you, they're not. This team right here that we just saw, this English team, they're not beating Australia in a five matches. Maybe one of those again. Maybe in one that approach will work. But for 5 matches, you think that you're going to approach Patty Cummings and Mitchell Stark and I'm trying to blank Jason Hayward. You think you're gonna stop? Those guys are gonna eat you alive, man. They're gonna eat you alive. So unless England changes its approach, it'll be back-to-back T20s and back-to-back Ashes victories for Australia. I mean, that's my prediction. Not a whitewash, though, Jihan. Jihan's calling for the whitewash, I'm sure.
He probably is. He probably is between the Australia and the West Indies and probably Australia, South Africa.
I'm sure.
But some questions here from the Sports Breakdown. The 4 test series between India and Australia next year will be crucial in the context of the WTC. Do you think Australia can win 2 test matches at least in India? It is going to be tough. That's the biggest test for Pat Cummins as his captaincy career. What do you think, Gabe? Can we beat the juggernaut that is India? They haven't lost a home series in test matches since 2012. Well, since 2013, sorry. That's the last time. 2012, they lost a series at home.
I'm thinking to myself right now, who's the second spinner that Australia is going to go to? Because you need to. You absolutely need to. Nathan Lyon's not going to be enough. And I mean, he's going to take some scalps, obviously, on those spinning tracks. But who's the next spinner? I mean, because the batsman, you figure David Warner's going to do okay. He's played there in the IPL. He doesn't really struggle, on the spinning pitches.
You got Uzi. He's done pretty well.
Uzi. Oh, Kawaj. Got some Uzi. I do worry a little bit about Cam Green. He
looked good in Sri Lanka, by the way. He looked good in Sri Lanka, the way he played the spinners.
And you know the thing about Cam Green? He either is bowling very well or he's batting very well. Can we get you to do both at once? Again, being an all-rounder, right? Can we get
But
both?
It's hard doing one level pegging as an all-rounder. But he's got some promise, Cameron Green.
Yeah, he does have some promise. Of course, you got Maxey. So I'll be honest. I think they can. Is it too bold to say I think that they can split the series?
We haven't won a test series in India since 2004. And that was like with Gilchrist, Ponting, Warne, McGrath, and all those legends.
Right.
The last tour in 2017, we lost that series 2-1. And India came back and won that series. We drawed the third test in Ranchi. And Glenn Maxwell made a century in that match. So what I saw from the team in Pakistan to win there on those flat pitches and to draw in Sri Lanka, disappointing not to win the series. We're improving. But it's a big challenge in India, especially with the ball turning as much. It is going to be a battle. But if Australia do well this summer in terms of winning those test matches against West Indies and South Africa, then it doesn't matter what they do in the India series because India need to win majority of those test matches because they've got 2 series remaining in India, Bangladesh and Australia, to make a case for the final of the WTC. So I think Australia can definitely do well in India, but it's going to be a big challenge. But we've got the players to do it, and I hope we can win over there because it's very hard to win in India. It's hard to win from home.
Now, and I always underestimate New Zealand, and I know people are gonna kill me in the chat. They're gonna be like, "Gabe, what happened with New Zealand's garbage and Kane Williamson's garbage?" So I said it kind of like, "Oh, they should beat New Zealand. They should, right?" But New Zealand, once again, they've got some good players, and from McConway to, I mean, dude, it's tough when you've got Kane Williamson, you got Conway, you got what's the other boy's name? I can't remember. Sodi. Is it Sodi? Sodai? I mean, they've got some really, really good players. And I don't know what it is, but they seem to be the best fielding team every single time, no matter who I watch them play, whether it's Australia, whether it's South Africa, whether it's West Indies or India. It's like they've got 13 players on the field. They got, instead of 11, they've managed to whatever their strategy is. It always seems like they got fielders everywhere. It's like whack-a-mole, bro. You cannot find an opening with them, and they're such good fielders that they don't give away free runs. They don't give away cheap runs. You very seldomly see a drop. So I also, as a fan of Australia, I don't want to overlook, and I'm telling you not to overlook and to say, "Oh, we just got to get through India in this summer. We just got to get through India this summer coming up, and we'll be fine." Yeah, New Zealand will also pose a challenge.
Yes, we got some questions on Australian cricket here from the Sports Breakdown. Thank you so much, everyone who's tuned in and provided some questions for me and Gabe here. We're trying our best to answer all of them, so give us some time here. obviously, where was it? Here it is. He says, I've been very impressed with Pat Cummins' captaincy so far in tests. It isn't easy for a bowler to lead in test cricket, especially being a fast bowler, as you tend to get injuries. Gabe, that was the other question I was going to ask you. How do you think about Pat Cummins, from Tim Payne to Pat Cummins, and the change of leadership and the change of coach as well? How do you see, because he got criticised, Pat Cummins, for what happened with JL, as we all know.
Right.
But how do you see him as a captain thus far in his short test career as captain?
I was concerned when he became captain that he was going to overbowl himself. And honestly, I felt like he was going to overbowl guys. But it's been the quite opposite. I think he's underbowled himself at times and, left some overs out there. So maybe that's to his credit. I still don't know. Obviously, you can't argue with the record, right? He's been a really good captain, successful captain. He's been winning games. But I think that the fear with a captain is that they could either underbowl themselves or overbowl themselves. And I thought that knowing a Pat Cummins, a guy that always wants to bowl, I thought he was going to overbowl himself. But to
He
me, I think
just
it's been quite
chooses the right moments to impact games, like that Sydney Test match where we needed those wickets. He came in and got rid of Butler and Wood with two wonderful deliveries to get them out LBW. He just picks the right moments to come in. So he's got that balance right.
And I think that that's what he does the best. He'll come in when the team needs him, but then he'll put other guys in a position to be successful. And I think that the way that he's managing, and I really do say managing, because if there is a weakness in Australia, it's definitely Australia, much like England, has struggled with those openers. And outside of David Warner, that door's been revolving, and Pucovski, with the concussions, man.
And Joe Burns, who had that poor run of form in that India series,
Joe Burns, and he's just been managing to get enough out of his batsmen and put them in the right position.
David Warner doesn't have long to go in his career. Steve Smith's been a bit down in form. And then you got Marnus, and then Travis Head's been a bit poor in the subcontinent of late. And you got Cameron Green, and you got Alex Carey as keeper.
Think about that. So that's what he's working with. A aging David Warner, Smudge, who, like you said, can be up and down. I was absolutely hammering. I wanted him gone because I wanted Uzi on the side so bad because I'm a fan of Uzi, and I'm like, please, I don't understand why they refuse to give Uzi a shot. You know what I mean? And Uzi's gotten a couple opportunities, but not as many as I think he can. And I think in his last game I saw he put up like 70 runs, right? He opened. But then, I feel like it took him so long, and they pushed Travis Head so much. And I'm like, come on, the guy was just better, flat out. I know that he was a JL's guy, but he was just better. And Cam Green, will either bat very well. He can give you 50, 60, 70. I think that same game with Uzi, if I'm not mistaken, he also put up 70 or so in the first inning. But then he gets, they don't even put him to bowl because he's so inconsistent, man. He's so inconsistent. I don't know. I don't know what it is about Cam Green. Like he's either one or the other. And to me, his bat isn't just an what do you call it? He's not dominant enough to just be a batter. So he needs to be an all-rounder. And it's funny because people told me, well, in the beginning of his career, Gabe, he was more of a bowler and couldn't bat. But so now he's batting and can't bowl. I mean, what
that's the thing with all-rounders, really. They either start out as a bowling all-rounder or a batting all-rounder, and he's more of a batting all-rounder, but he's got a lot of potential. They didn't bowl him much in Sri Lanka because they didn't need to, because especially in that first test, Nathan Lyon and Mitchell Swepson got majority of the wickets because it was turning.
Jack, give me one. And I know we're live, man. Give me 1 second. I got to take this real quick.
That's fine, Gabe. You got to do what you got to do.
Oh, I can't remove myself from the screen. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, I got to do that. Sorry, everyone. Gabe's got to dip out for a minute, but he'll be back with us just after this. So yeah. Sorry about that, everyone. I know that everyone's got a lot of questions here. Obviously, Gabe has to take a phone call, but he'll be back very shortly. Purlish Singh, how are you? I hope you're well. Sports Bit, how are you? Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to the live stream. It's a great discussion that me and Gabe are having. Gabe will be right back. He's just got to attend to something, and he'll be back in just a few minutes. But keep those questions coming in. We're trying our best to answer all of them as we can. There's been a lot of questions, so thanks everyone who's been watching as well. So we'll continue on answering your questions on everything. So I'll try and answer some questions while Gabe is busy. No, I think Gabe is ready. I think he's. You're good, Gabe?
Yeah, I'm good. It was just a family thing, and I was like, wait, I gotta answer this because it's late on my side over here, and
Yes.
I'm like getting a call this late. I was like, okay, it could be something in an emergency. But
no, family's important, everyone. You make sure you hug and love your family members because time is so precious, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Where were we? Everyone's got questions here. I can't keep track. It's like on CFA with the live stream, everyone with the chat going everywhere. We're trying our best, everyone, but thank you so much. I really appreciate. We've gone for 2 hours. It's a marathon innings here, but we're plowing through it. We've got lots to talk about, and we love talking cricket, do we, Gabe? I know
Absolutely.
I do. This question here, Gabe, from the Sports Breakdown. Also, I want to ask this from both of you. Why do Australian batters generally struggle with left arm orthodox spinners? I've seen many times in Test cricket, Australian batters struggle, especially in Tests. Yeah, we have, because they're not easy to play. Left arm spinners turning the ball, especially in that game against Sri Lanka. Correct me if I'm wrong, Power, and if you're watching, Pradap J. Surya, he's a left arm spinner, isn't he? I think he is. So we struggled against him in that second test. I don't know why. It's just techniques, how we brought up on wickets in Australia.
I think because you see so little of them, you know what I mean? And yeah, that's a good question. I'm not the one to ask. I'm not the one to ask. I still the nuances of the game. You know what I mean? Like
you're still trying to grasp those.
Yeah, that still eludes me. Like in baseball, I can tell you exactly, why a lefty will struggle on a lefty, or why, you would let's say play a certain field for a certain batter, whether it's ready a lefty, why you would shift. But in cricket, that's still some of the things I struggle with. And sometimes it's funny, like you'll see a bowler, bowl a short ball to get pumped. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, listen, it's so hard to be consistent when you're line the lengths, and it's so hard to nail that Yorker. And it drives me crazy.
Yes, he is a left arm spinner, Power says, and also Rangana Herford was as well. Yes, he was. Purlish Singh says the straight ones from left-handers keep them confused and uncertain. Arm ball or left armour is lethal. Yes, they are. You got to have that variation in the attack. Where was the other questions that I had here? Here we go. Steve Smith. Do you also think that Steve Smith should focus on Test cricket and should let go of T20 internationals because it seems he has lost his groove in Test cricket a bit? Should he just do what Joe Root did? What do you think,
Yes.
Gabe?
Yes, because I've seen Steve Smith look amazing in Tests, and for some reason he just looks lost whenever I watch him play T20. He really does, and especially the last few seasons that I watched him play in the IPL, look terrible, just terrible. And he's in between. He doesn't, I think he's one of those batsmen that has to build an inning, just can't start firing. and he needs like a lot of information to be able to read the pitch, read what the bowlers are doing. And again, in T20, you almost got to start firing from ball one. You know what I mean? You can't just chew up 2 overs, 12 deliveries, trying to read the pitch and see what the bowlers are doing and get their timing and cadences down and stuff like that. So I think that, you know, the he's a student of the game, and Steve Smith is a student of the game, but that benefits you in the longer format of the game because now you can use what you learned in the later on. You know what I mean? Later on in the innings, but again, the limited overs, it's you're firing from ball one, and I think that's where he struggles a lot.
Yeah, he does, and it's a bit slower for him as well. T20 cricket for him, it's sort of not his forte. It's more one day in Test cricket for Steve Smith, I think.
Right.
Well, because players can't play 3 formats anymore, so you probably just have to give up a format if he wants to keep playing at the top level.
You're gonna see so many players start giving up formats, and I'm telling
yes.
you,
The
the
sports break. Yeah, sorry, Gabe. Yeah, go on.
Stokes walking away.
Yeah.
Get ready for more of that.
Yeah. Also, thoughts on who can actually replace Nathan Lyon in the future. I know he has many years left in Test cricket, but I do feel Swepson need to be a bit consistent with his lines. So who do you think is going to take his place? Because he's been playing since 2011, Nathan Lyon, and he's one of the best off spinners that we've ever had. So who do you think is going to replace him, if you could think of any names? But
I mean, you already said the name, Swepson, right? Swepson looked good in that last match. What was the second match? He had a 3-wicket haul, decent economy rate. I mean, he's not Nathan Lyon, right? Nathan Lyon will give you 20, 25 overs, and it seems like his economy rate is always under 4. He'll be, 2s, 3s. But I do like Swepson. I like his stuff, and I think that he has the ability to get some of those bad wickets. Does that make sense? The players will put themselves in a bad position trying to take him on, and like, what do you do? I'll take it. It's like the balls sometimes look so bad that they're just
like half trackers and stuff.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So I think that's going to be the replacement. That's a logical replacement, right? Because now he's got multiple innings so far under his belt of T20, and he's done it. Not T20. I'm sorry, of cricket. And yeah, it was in that Sri Lanka match where he took, I think, 5 total. It was 1 innings. He took 3 wickets. Another one he took 2. So I like Swepson. How about yourself?
Yeah, I think Mitch can do that. What he's thinking about there is with his lines, he can be a bit inconsistent, but all leg spinners are like that. You just got to give him time and confidence. People were on his back after what happened in Pakistan, but that was Pakistan. It would have been different in Sri Lanka, and it was because he took wickets, and I was glad for him that he took wickets.
Right.
He's a young guy. Well, he's not young-ish. He's in his late 20s, but he's got experience. So if he can build on that, he probably won't play in the Australian summer. He'll probably get a go in India. That will be the next series for him. Definitely play 2 spinners in India. But, definitely one to look out for there. Another question from the Sports Breakdown. What do you think about the resurgence of Josh Hazlewood in the past 2 years in all 3 formats? For me, it seems that Stark has declined a bit and Hazlewood is in his prime. Any thoughts on that, Gabe? Because he is a good T20 bowler now, Josh Hazlewood.
He won the IPL for the Chennai Super Kings. I mean, he is an absolute animal with the ball. Josh Hazlewood, I called him Patty Cummings light. All right, he's so consistent on his lines and lengths. He really is. And he's got the ability to delivery after delivery, just put the ball where he wants. And, I don't think calling him Patty Cummings light is disrespectful. You know what I mean? I just think that he's not quite there at the Patty Cummings level. But yes, the last 2 years, and even in T20, he's been really, really good, really, really consistent. And that 2-headed monster, again, Mitchell Stark, I don't think any of them have stuff. And in baseball, we call, guys pitch is stuff, just pure stuff. You know what I mean? Patty Cummings doesn't have the stuff Mitchell Cummings does. He just doesn't. Neither does Josh Hazelwood. But Stark is always hurt, and he's at times very inconsistent. And you're like, I don't get it. With the arm this guy has, just why isn't he more consistent with his lines and length? And why isn't
He's probably not that sort of bowler, really. He's more
it,
erratic. That's how he
yeah,
bowls.
that's what it is. He's erratic. He's just erratic. You know what I mean?
He sort of reminds me of Mitchell Johnson in his early part of his career, where he's a bit he's a left armer as well, and he was a bit over the place bowling wides and down the leg side of that. Stark can be like that, but when he gets it right, he gets it right. When he bowls those Yorkers to the tail, he's lethal. So he's still a valuable asset to this Australian bowling attack. But
for sure.
At times he can be a bit inconsistent with his lines and lengths, but Australia do like him because of that left arm variation, especially in the subcontinent when you have that ball reversing. And
it gives a different look. It gives a different look from obviously a Patty Cummings and a Josh Hazelwood, who are right-handers. But again, I've seen innings, man. I've seen innings, man, where he will bowl 3 or 4 just wides in a row, man, and it just drives me crazy, man. It really does.
Bendover says Stark and Bolt were unplayable in 2015. Now they are just as good. Yeah, even Trent Bolt's pretty good as well. What he's done there. Another question here from Pulish. Who are the spinners in domestic for Australia? Any good ones? Not many I can think of at the moment. There's no one really banging down the door to replace Nathan Lyon or anything like that. There's some around. I think Todd Murphy from Victoria is a good one to look out for. He's been playing some cricket for Victoria. He's a promising bowler. So we'll see how he goes. Hi, everyone. Hope you enjoyed our cricket discussion with Gabe from Cricket for Americans on all things Australian cricket. Let us know in the comments your thoughts about Australian cricket. We would love to hear what you have to say.